Welcome to the Driver's Line. I'm Greg.
And I'm Jordan.
And today we have a conversation for you.
And our conversation today is going to bring us back to the world of F1 because we have a lot of fresh news for you.
That's right. So we're going to go ahead and talk about the F1 season to date, and we're going to talk about one of the most important pieces of information that has come out this season, and that is the fact that Cadillac has been approved by both Formula One management and the FIA for entrance into the 2026 season.
Yeah, if you haven't been following this, Cadillac's been trying to enter the F1 circuit under the guidance of Michael Andretti, and they have really hit a wall with that. And since Michael Andretti pulled out, it seems like they've actually been able to get some traction and finally enter the circuit in 2026.
That's right. For whatever reason, everybody in Formula One seems to hate Michael Andretti. Now, he is a little bit smug, fair, but since he has actually stepped back and now they have a new CEO, they're able to go ahead and get approval from both Formula One management and the FIA for entrance in 2026. And as you guys know, 2026 is the season of the big regulation changes, so it honestly makes a lot of sense for them to go ahead and enter into the sport at that period.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I know as someone who doesn't watch F1 as regularly as some other folks, this is actually it's all right, but it's really a cool development for those of us in North America because, I myself maybe wouldn't be as interested if a North American manufacturer wasn't in it. Mm-hmm. And to see Cadillac, who has worked really meticulously over the last 2 decades building up their Performance division, entering various different racing series, and now F1, arguably the pinnacle of racing, to show kind of some actual interest in the global market, right? It's a really great way to get their name out there.
Absolutely.
With folks who are truly dedicated to motorsport.
Absolutely. So Dan Towers is going to be their new CEO. He was part owner of the whole Andretti package. Right. But, having Michael Andretti step aside, Mario Andretti, who's the last American World Drivers Champion, I think back in the 70s.
Wow.
Is going to be a special consultant on the team, which is really, really cool. But, to your point, this is just fantastic. The Cadillac has had a lot of success in both the World Endurance Championship and IMSA. And so this is kind of the next logical step for them to go ahead and showcase their brand and what they can do from a performance standpoint.
Now, I'm assuming that, the F1 folks aren't going to let us run that fantastic sounding VR engine.
Unfortunately, we have to conform to regulations, and Cadillac is actually going to build their own engine program, so they're going to do a power unit program. Nice. Much like Ferrari and Mercedes have done in the past, or currently do rather. But since it takes a lot of time for that to happen and the regs are likely to change in the next coming years, Cadillac's going to start using with Ferrari power.
A Ferrari-powered Cadillac.
I know.
Who would have thought?
It doesn't sound bad. I wonder if Ferrari will sell me an engine for my V.
Hey! So, that'll be some crate engines? Could you imagine? That'd be pretty sick.
But one of the crazy things about this is since Cadillac is going to be the 11th team, they're essentially going to dilute that money pool that all the other teams share from.
Right.
So what do you think Cadillac had to pay for a dilution fee?
So must be something pretty significant.
Yes, very significant. They had to pay each team $45 million.
Oh my!
And so there's 10 teams in Formula One. So that's $450 million out of GM and Andretti's coffers, or TWG Global.
Right. Oh my gosh, that's insane.
Yeah.
This is like that. Was a Concord agreement or something?
Yeah. The Concord agreement was kind of the purpose for that initially, and so. The other teams have a point, right? But, even at almost $500 million, which is $500 million, Cadillac is getting a value because literally once this team takes the grid, it's probably going to be valued about $1 billion.
That's insane, yeah. And not to mention, the marketing that's tied in with this is incredible for them.
Incredible marketing.
We know that over the past, Cadillac has not really been successful in the global market, so this could be a really great way for them to get their name out there. So maybe $450 million ain't too bad. What do you think about it that way, right?
Yeah, it's hard to say, frankly, but that's still a big nut. So
that's true.
It's and that doesn't even account for all the investment they're going to have to do into the team, right? Getting that stood up, getting their facilities stood up. Yeah. They're going to be the only legit American team. I know people are going to say Haas is the American team, and they have American ownership with Gene Haas, of course, but. They're basically based in England for most of their skunk works, and they have some offices over here, but
they're not running a Cadillac.
Yeah, they're not running a Cadillac.
Oof, yeah. And speaking of American stuff, I know that with the previous deal with Andretti, I know that the U.S. government was kind of trying to find what actually is going on, right? So I know like the DOJ was looking into it. And
because they were thinking that know Formula One was trying to actively keep American teams out, which I really don't think was the case. They were just saying that we have a lot of money, we don't want to share it. Right. So they're just being greedy. It wasn't anything.
They're being capitalistic.
Yeah, they're being capitalistic, which is just a trait of Americans too. But that was kind of one of the main focuses of it.
Yeah, maybe it's too scared of the Americans coming in.
Yes. So Cadillac is actually the first team joining the grid since 2016. So it will have been exactly 10 years since Haas joined back in 2016. And so, from an American standpoint, then you got like 2 American owners as the last 2 teams, which is kind of cool.
That is pretty cool. Start showing our name out there.
Yeah, Merca. We just need a good American driver. So that's the last thing I want to talk about with Cadillac.
Oh, okay. So what are you thinking?
So everybody's got a lot of opinions on this, right? So this is one of the things that people are really focused on because they're, it's the scuttlebutt, right? We've had a lot of good drivers get let go after 2024. Sure. Yeah. We have 6 rookies in the grid for 2025. So that's a lot of displaced drivers, a lot of really highly qualified drivers. And so if I'm Cadillac, if I'm Dan Towers, if I'm Graham Loudon, the things I'm really looking for in the drivers, I'm going to want someone that is new and upcoming, right? I'm going to want some young guy who we can develop with the car. And to me, there's nobody better than Colton Herta.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So he's an IndyCar driver for McLaren right now. McLaren obviously doesn't have a seat for him in Formula One because they have both Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris, which they would be foolish to move on from either of them because they're both fantastic. Yeah. But he deserves a drive in Formula One, and I think Cadillac would be wise to try and sign him.
That's actually a great idea. Some fresh blood with a fresh brand. I mean, the underdogness there the story writes itself.
Exactly,
right?
And he's American, so
it's great.
So for the second seat, I'm thinking they need experience. They need someone who knows how to develop a car, someone who's been on a championship-winning team, someone who knows what a World Constructors Championship car looks and feels like. Right?
So like Michael Andretti. Could you imagine though? No. We're announcing our second driver.
No. It's going to be me.
Gotcha.
But seriously. So, Valtteri Bottas was Lewis Hamilton's second driver, essentially, for a lot of his, world championships, and got a lot of World Constructor Championships with Mercedes because he's a very fast driver. He's capable of, getting the most out of the car. He doesn't have that level that Hamilton has because that's rare, right? Like Hamilton, Verstappen, these guys are elite, on a little bit different level than everyone else, but he is an extremely quality second driver. He listens to the team. He understands what the team needs to do. He understands what a good car looks and feels like. I think he would be an absolute fantastic driver to kind of get them through their first few years.
And what I like about your picks there is the ego is set aside with both of these folks.
Yep.
And when you're starting a new team, that needs to be a priority.
Absolutely.
Because it's got to be team first.
Yeah.
And I think that's really critical. And that's where you see a lot of these other teams faltering is when one ego overtakes the team. Exactly.
What happened with Red Bull all those years ago with Verstappen and Ricciardo, right? Like, I mean, they crashed each other out at Baku because they both had the ego. They both thought they were the first driver.
Right.
Now, Red Bull's kind of gone too far the other way with their second driver, but we'll get to that in a minute.
That's a fair point. That will be a good point of discussion there. Yeah.
So do we want to talk about the first 2 GPs?
Yes, let's do it. Right, what's coming up, Greg?
Full disclosure for you guys, we're filming this literally in the midst of the Chinese GP. So
right in the middle of it.
Last night was the sprint race and the quali, so we don't know the outcome of the GP, so don't add us in the comments on that. Because we unfortunately cannot predict the future. But
it's true.
We'll talk about Australia first. So Australia was interesting in a lot of regards because we got to see the true pace of the McLaren, right? Like, I mean, the McLaren is definitely heads and shoulders above everyone else. However, it was a wet race. And so wet races are the great equalizer of cars.
Yep.
So then it really comes into driver ability, which is the reason why we saw multiple rookies crash in those really adverse wet conditions. Yep. So a lot of the rookies bend it. We even had some, skilled experienced drivers, Bennett, poor Carlos, I felt so bad for him when he crashed. Alonso crashed. But on the outcome, Lando, of course, won the race. So he has a lot of pace, looked really, really good. And, the surprising thing to me was, what Max was able to wring out of that Red Bull. It definitely looks like it's on the back foot this season. But again, his skill, can certainly elevate that car to a little better of a level.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he's definitely got it.
Yeah. The other surprising thing was Mercedes, right? Like, they exited last season in 4th in the constructors, currently tied, coming into China with McLaren for 1st.
That's pretty good.
And a lot of people also thought Ferrari was going to be better, right? And I think this was largely due to a bad strategy call. Okay. But they ended up, I think 8th and 10th in the race, which is just not where they want to be. Really, they want to be at the front competing with McLaren for that World Constructors Championship.
I don't doubt that, considering their racing history and pedigree. They're probably pretty annoyed.
Yeah. And so, talking about Red Bull, like one of the biggest disappointments has been Liam Lawson so far. It's really disappointing that Red Bull's second seat really feels like it's cursed at this point, because we've had a lot of high-quality drivers ever since Danny Ricciardo left the team just falter in that seat. We had Alex Albon, who just did not seem to be able to get on with Max's pace. So then they, actually before that was Gasly, who couldn't get on with Max's pace, and they got rid of him for Albon, who couldn't get on with Max's pace. Then they brought in Perez, who competed for a while, but that's also when Red Bull had, by far, the best car on the grid.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's when Checo was winning races, when they had like an absolute rocket ship whenever, something happened to Max's car, DNF for whatever reason. But then Checo's form really started to falter last year, and so that's why they got rid of him for Lawson. But, Lawson just did not qualify well in Australia. In the sprint race at China this weekend, he qualified 20th, which is dead last. He gained a few positions during the sprint, up to I think 14th, but then in GP qualifying, 20th again.
Oh man!
And that's probably the 3rd or 4th best car on the grid.
So something's up there.
Yeah, not great. And Red Bull is famously known for their patience with drivers.
Clearly.
Wait a minute, it's the opposite. They're famously known for being impatient with drivers. So that hook is coming for Liam, and he needs to really be aware, because they've got a really fast driver on their junior team on the Racing Bulls, Yuki Tsunoda. Has done really, really well this season already. A lot of people thought he deserved the seat last season, right? And so I think Liam might get demoted, and Yuki might get that seat even before the mid-season break.
Well, that would be interesting to see how that dynamic would change, because I know Red Bull could use a couple good wins here.
But the biggest news out of China is that Lewis Hamilton in his Ferrari got the pole in the sprint race, and then managed to drive all the way to the win for the sprint race. And so, I mean, it was great seeing Lou up front again, battling with Max a little bit. Max had the pace to challenge at one point, but then just, I think the tire degradation is very funny in China. And so just the management of that is really tough to deal with. And so I think that's ultimately what caused Max to lose a little pace. And then Piastri ended up getting in for second. But kudos to Ferrari. I mean, like, able to put that car up at P1 and then go ahead and, claim victory in that sprint race. That's a huge step forward for them, especially after the week before in Australia.
Dismal, for sure. I'm sure that's a welcome change for them.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's good to see for them in the future, because since Cadillac will be teaming up with them. In a sense.
We need that power. Give us that Ferrari power in our Cadillacs. Love it. I love it.
So what important things are coming up that viewers need to see?
Well, obviously we're going to look for the continued development of, seeing the top of the grid here, because we have 4 cars that all seem capable of winning. The coolest thing out of the sprint race is P1 through P4 were all different teams.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So first place was Hamilton, second place was Piastri in the McLaren, third place was Max in the Red Bull, and then fourth place was Russell in the Mercedes. So all these cars, I think, depending on how the race goes, what you make for your strategy calls, some of your strategy and how that works in, and what you choose to do with like your tires and things of that nature, like, you all have a chance of winning. The McLaren is the best, not going to deny that, but it's not that far above the rest.
It's tightening.
It is tightening. So, I mean, as the development goes throughout the season, that's going to be the key thing to watch, to see who actually separates themselves from that group.
It is definitely going to be something to watch over the next few weeks. It's going to be very exciting.
And, a lot of us held it out for Aston Martin because we thought, oh, they just hired Adrian Newey, who was like literally the F1 car whisperer, right? And you know, from what I understand, is he's going to be focusing on the 2026 car.
Gotcha.
With all the new regs.
Makes sense.
So I don't think we're going to see a lot of performance out of Aston Martin this year, but next year,
you never know.
We'll keep an eye on them.
With all that attention being dedicated to it.
That's right.
Might be a wise decision.
Could be.
Yeah,
it could be.
All right. Well, here's another wise decision. Keep on watching F1 and keep on staying tuned to our channel so we can keep talking about this awesome stuff.
Absolutely. It's going to be an exciting season, and so we can't wait to talk about the rest of it with you.
Yeah. Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode.
Thanks for watching.
See you next time.
Thanks for joining us on The Driver's Line.
If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe to make sure you don't miss a thing.